In a world where power is the only currency and reputation is everything, there lived a young man named Yuda, who mastered the most difficult art of all, the art of being invisible. To the outside world, he was nothing more than a shadow, a weak and fragile soul who lacked the fire of ambition. But behind that carefully constructed mask of frailty lay a mind as sharp as a scholar, a blade, and a strength that could shake the very foundations of a kingdom. Yuda didn't choose this life out of cowardice. He chose it out of a deep, burning necessity. His mother, a woman of grace and virtue, had been cast out, her name dragged through the mud by the very family that should have protected her. To clear her name and expose the rot within his lineage, Yuda knew he couldn't attack head-on. He had to become a ghost, a spendthrift of his own potential, letting the world underestimate him until the moment was exactly right. His journey truly began when he turned his back on the familiar streets of his homeland and crossed the borders into the territory of their greatest enemy. It was a bold, almost suicidal move for someone perceived to be so weak. Yet, it was there, in the heart of hostile territory, that the sleeping dragon finally stirred. The enemy kingdom was ruled by strength, led by 3 legendary princes who were feared for their martial prowess and tactical genius. They were the gold standard of warriors, untouchable and arrogant. But then came Yuda. With a calm that unnerved his opponents and a precision that defied logic, he faced these 3 giants. One by one, he dismantled their defenses, not just with physical force, but with a strategic brilliance that made it look effortless. He didn't just defeat them, he outclassed them. Word of this mysterious outsider's victory spread like a wildfire across the plains. In a land where he was supposed to be a captive or a corpse, Yuda became a national idol. People who had been taught to hate his kind were now whispering his name in awe. It was a hero, a legend born from the dust. But while the enemy kingdom cheered for him, back home in the Bahudraya palace, the reaction was far more sinister. The news of Yuda's hidden power didn't bring pride to the elders. It brought cold, calculating fear. The corrupt officials and jealous relatives who had built their status on the ruins of Yuda's mother-esque reputation realized that if this weakling returned as a conqueror, their reign of lies would end. Instead of welcoming their hero, the Bahudraya palace declared him a threat, effectively turning his own blood against him. Yuda found himself in a strange position, caught between a nation that worshipped him and a home that wanted him dead. To survive and continue his mission, he had to disappear once again. Under a cloud of secrecy enforced by the growing hostility of his own palace, Yuda returned to Bahudraya, not as a victorious general, but as a humble, insignificant freshman at a prestigious university. It was a brilliant, albeit painful, tactical retreat. He traded his warrior's robes for a student as a simpleti, burying his glory under layers of mundane books and lecture halls. He was back to being the weak Yuda, the target of ridicule for the wealthy and entitled elite who dominated the campus. This university was more than just a place of learning. It was a microcosm of the palace itself, filled with the children of the very people who had betrayed his mother. These silver-spooned bullies saw Yuda as an easy target, a nobody with no backing and no spying. They pushed him, insulted his heritage, and tried to break his spirit at every turn. But what they did unrealized was that they were playing with fire while standing in a room full of gasoline. Yuda took every insult with a stoic silence that they mistook for fear. In reality, he was observing. He was gathering intel. Every arrogant laugh and every whispered conspiracy among the elite students gave him another piece of the puzzle he needed to dismantle the corruption of the Bahudraya palace. As the days turned into weeks, the atmosphere around Yuda began to shift. It's hard to keep a sun hidden behind clouds forever. Every now and then, a glimpse of his true self would leak out, a moment of superhuman reflex, a piece of wisdom that shouldn't belong to a commoner, or a gaze so intense it could make a seasoned soldier flinch. The secrets he carried were like a high-pressure dam, and the cracks were starting to show. Slowly, the narrative of the weak freshman began to crumble. A few perceptive individuals started to notice that whenever Yuda was around, the bullies ended up embarrassing themselves, or secret documents went missing from the wrong hands. It was a slow-burn reveal, a psychological game where Yuda was always 3 steps ahead of everyone else. The tension reached a breaking point when the ghosts of his past in the enemy kingdom began to catch up with him. Representatives from the foreign land arrived, searching for the hero who had vanished into thin air. At the same time, the palace's assassins were closing in, desperate to silence the threat before he could reclaim his birthright. Yuda was no longer just fighting for a name. He was fighting a war on two fronts, while pretending to study for an exam. The beauty of this story lies in that duality. The quiet life of a student by day and the lethal maneuvers of a master strategist by night. Eventually, the mask didn't just slip, it was shattered. The moment of truth arrived when the most powerful figures of Raya were forced to confront the reality that the boy they had stepped on was actually the giant they feared. The revelation wasn't just a shock, it was an earthquake, the look of pure terror on the faces of those who had slandered his mother. As they realized Yuta held their lives in his hands, was the ultimate catharsis. He didn't need to shout to be heard. His actions, his journey, and his unwavering loyalty to the truth spoke louder than any palace decree. In the end, this isn't just a story about a hidden master or a school drama. It's a profound look at how society judges people based on the surface, and how dangerous it is to underestimate someone who has nothing left to lose but their honor. Yuta proved that you don't need a crown to be a king, and you don't need an army to bring down a corrupt empire. You just need the patience to wait for the right moment, and the courage to wear a mask until the world is ready to see the truth. As the dust settled, and the name of Yuta's mother was finally cleared, the legend of the weak student who toppled an ancient palace became a story whispered in every corner of the kingdom, a reminder that justice might be delayed. But for someone like Yuta, it is never denied. It's a gripping tale of patience and hidden power that makes you question everyone you meet. Is that quiet person in the corner really as simple as they look? Or are they just waiting for the right time to reveal their true strength? Yuta's life is a masterclass in strategy, showing us that sometimes the best way to move forward is to let the world think you're standing still. Watching his enemies fall into the traps they set for him, thinking they were winning when they were actually losing, provides a level of satisfaction that few stories can match. It's a journey of a hero who didn't want the world. He just wanted the truth. And in seeking the truth, he accidentally became the greatest force the world had ever seen.